everybody. And we will call the meeting to order. And we'll take an approval of the January 14th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion? Anybody? Okay, Tom? Second? Karen? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to number 3, we'll open the public hearing to receive comments on the program performance in the 2022 annual plan for the Community Development Block Grant and Public Housing.
This is your opportunity. If you are here to speak for funding opportunities for 2022, we just ask that you do it in an orderly manner. First come, first serve. Whoever wants to come up and speak, we ask that it's 5 to 10 minutes max, and then we'll open it up for the committees to ask, committee members to ask any questions of you. And make sure that you did sign in. If you have not, there's a clipboard. If you could sign in. And welcome.
Who wants to be first? Come on down.
Sounds like we're on The Price is Right. Come on down.
They took it from me.
Hi, I'm Amy Forrest. I'm the Director of Operations of Hami Heights Incorporated, which is our Wausau campus of Hami Home for the Aging. Hami
It'd be
Inc.,
Hami,
actually.
yep, and I'm Justin Sislevich. I'm the Executive Director for Hami Inc. of Wisconsin, which Hami Inc. is a parent corporation over Hami Heights, our Wausau campus, and Hami Home for the Aging, the Wittenberg campus. So we're an organization dedicated to providing quality care to our seniors. And on our Wausau campus, we provide independent living as well as assisted living and adult day programs. And our request is regarding a community block development grant request for an elevator project that we're currently consisting on.
So we serve 120 different residents at various levels. They all have to just be, the only requirement to live on our campus is age 62 or older. We're the only nonprofit assisted living campus in town. We have 4 elevators that serve our building. We're the old St. Mary's Hospital, so they are the original elevators from when it was the hospital. So our elevators range in age from 50 to 80 years old. So they actually qualify to live in our building. We need to modernize them to make them ADA compliant. We also need to modernize them because they are eating our budget alive. So the repairs and maintenance and upkeep, because they shut down, is very frequent. We don't have a lot of surplus cash flow because we work with a lot of low-income senior citizens who are on the family care program. That's part of our mission. And so we need a total of $1.36 million to modernize all 4. We're not asking you for that much. We've been very fortunate. We've written a lot of grants to our local community foundations, and we've already been supported by the Dwight and Linda Davis Foundation, the B.A. and Esther Greenheck Foundation, the Clemishes, the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin. We have some private donors. We're doing a capital campaign. We're up to about $465,000 has been committed for the project. We want to get to at least the halfway mark, and we'll pull the trigger on the first 2 elevators. And then our goal is to continue raising money for the other 2. So it would be completely modernizing the elevators, changing out all of the mechanics in them. So we'll be down for about a month without elevator, which has happened due to repairs in the past. Our staff just serve all of our residents. We each take a floor, run the stairs, take them their mail, take them meals, help them walk down the steps, things like that. But most of our residents use walkers, wheelchairs, and they really need the elevators for us to continue our business.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Who would like to be next? Diane, I see you're on the telephone. Would you like to go? Can you hear me?
Diane, are you there?
Yes.
Would you like to do that?
Yes, I would, and thank you for calling on me. Sorry, I didn't hit the unmute button, so I've got it now. First, I just want to thank everybody for listening. I know this is a long night for all of you, so I know that like the rest of the presenters, we really appreciate it, and I'll keep it very brief. Again, my name is Diane Senholtz. I'm speaking on behalf of North Central Community Action Program, the Salvation Army, and Catholic Charities for our hand-in-hand housing program. A little bit of background I would like to give to you so you can have some context for our hand-in-hand. I don't know if there's some new members or not, but I just want to provide an overview, so here it goes. There's very few housing options for families who are homeless or near homeless. We started the hand-in-hand program back in 2016 to assist with families, so it was very important to the community back then, and it's still important. However, in 2019, North Central CAP wrote a state grant for TDRA, which is a tenant-based rental assistance program targeted for the homeless or near homeless families. And this is where several months of assistance can be offered. I did receive that grant, and we received it through 2023. So we're helping a lot of families, and currently we have 13 families this year in our program. And there are no homeless families right now on our priority list. There may be some families couch surfing, but none have reported to a shelter for us to connect with. And families qualifying for our TDRA must be assessed and put on a prioritization, very much like our permanent supportive housing programs and our rapid rehousing programs. So the more barriers people have, the higher they rank on our lists, and they're more likely to get into the program. The local CDBG funding that you are given to me in the past doesn't require us to use a list. Therefore, the hand-in-hand housing program is, I feel, very much needed resource in Wausau because we can help those who don't rank high enough for a state or a federal program. So we really feel this is important funding for our agency. And while our hand-in-hand program can still be used for families, and we currently have 2 families in our program, we're also seeing a different need right now. And they are the youth aging out of foster care and the elderly population who live on their own but have health issues. So while the hand-in-hand program isn't new, it has gone through several changes over the years it's been in existence. And since we, North Central CAP, are a community action agency, we're required to do a community needs assessment every 3 years and to assess our needs every year, and then address those needs to continue to get our funding. So I just wanted to give you that background. And currently with this program, we're still enrolling participants. We don't specify a set number of months for rent when we do enroll people because our goal is always to get people to be self-sufficient, not be dependent on us for a long period of time. So we do not specify a set number of months of rent. We do subsidize as long as necessary, though, and we do prefer a declining subsidy to ease households back into complete self-sufficiency. Financial assistance given by our agency is generally 2 to 5 months, and case management can go on further than that. It can go on for a year, and generally does if people would like case management. All of the partners, meaning North Central CAP, Salvation Army, and Catholic Charities, use the same software so we can identify and track those who are currently receiving services and those who have received services in the past. We do believe this is important to properly assist participants as well as being accountable for measures provided in the past and potentially in the future. With the CDBG funding that we started in July of 2021, we have enrolled 6 households to date. See, one of those, and I'll just give you a little bit of background here, one of those is a youth who has aged out of foster care and was told to leave the house after she turned 18. We connected with her actually under the Stott Street Bridge. Our street outreach specialist, James Voss, actually found her. We did get her connected to housing, and she received first month's rent. And we are intending on giving her a 3-month rental subsidy, but only half of the rent because she is working and she is dedicated to getting herself back on her feet. So we are working with her to develop a decent household budget because she doesn't have any of those skills. We're also working with her to develop her soft skills because she does need to develop those some more to actually keep her employment. We have 2 elderly women who still work, but because of health issues, they've missed a few months of work and they need help catching up, so they're stable. We have an older gentleman who is a cancer survivor. He's on Social Security, but he got behind on his rent because of medical bills, so he's received 3 months of assistance and he's stable right now. We do have the last 2 people are single parents, and one is a a victim of domestic abuse, and she was referred to us from the women's community. So we're helping her with 3 months of assistance, and we think that she's going to be fine after that. And the last family has 4 children. She is currently employed in a very good job, but still meets the 150% of the poverty level. But still, she can make it on that. It doesn't seem like she would be able to with 4 kids, but she can. She was just involved in a car accident, and her hours needed to be reduced while she's recovering. So we feel that she's going to be quite stable. And right now, today, we just got another referral for a youth aging out of foster care. We received this referral from North Central Healthcare, who's working with this individual because they're having some mental health challenges as well as housing challenges. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Diane, this is Bruce. I thought it was, I appreciated you putting the personal, the case information in there. We don't get to see that very often, and it was very enlightening.
Well, thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Who'd like to go next?
Mind if I turn that?
Thanks.
Hi, I guess while she's handing that out, I'll introduce myself. My name is Olivia Hill. I'm the executive director at the Wausau Conservatory of Music. And I just wanted to thank you all for having me and providing this opportunity for myself and our organization, as well as all of these other fabulous organizations. It's so meaningful to have that level of support for us. So thank you so much. So at the Wausau Conservatory of Music, we believe that music is fundamental to living and learning. Through our innovative vision, high-quality programs become available to all. And we activate change through critical thinking and empowerment. It's simple. We create leaders. The Wausau Conservatory of Music is now going into its 41st year in our community. And at the conservatory, in short, because we do so much, we provide programs through ensembles, classes, private lessons, many free community partnership programs, free events and concerts, recitals, you name it. And we typically serve around 900 individuals annually, and that number continues to grow even through COVID. So I'm very excited to say that. At the Wausau Conservatory of Music, our priority is access and providing access. It's a cornerstone to our business, actually. And last year, 1 in 3 students or participants at the conservatory qualified and had some level of tuition assistance to participate in our programs. And that amount, for that 1 in 3, amounted to about $40,000 last year. So for our grant proposal called Pathways to Music, we're asking for you all to consider a gift of $15,000 to provide what we call this Pathway to Music. It's basically a 2-part proposal. So the first one, and the way we kind of see the whole proposal, is that it's so important to engage young students in early childhood in music and create that spark for interest and learning. So the first part of the proposal tackles that. And the second part encourages them to continue on into their studies. So we're not just creating the spark, but we're continuing to reach out to these students and provide opportunity. So the first program is a program which we began and piloted last year called Musical Storytime. And Musical Storytime is in partnership with Marathon County Head Start. And if you're not fully aware of what Head Start does, is they are a program that provides educational services for kids who are ages between 3 and 5. And the kids who qualify for Head Start their families must be at or below the federal poverty line. And there's, in the Wausau portion of the Head Start program, there's 108 children. And in addition, these children also can qualify if they're homeless or foster children as well. 100% of these children qualify for free lunch through the CACFP program. In addition to for these students, 45% of these students qualify or have a biracial or a minority background as well. So our musical storytime program is essentially a program where we meet with the kids once a month. It's a 20-minute program where my lead facilitator, Rochelle Pearson, who's also our violin and viola faculty artist at the Conservatory, it sounds simple. She reads them a book. And the program and the book that we have is typically related to music. And after she reads the book, she does a short performance for the kids. And like I said, it sounds simple, but what is so meaningful and important about this program is that the books often talk about some challenge that a child has. We incorporate social emotional learning, which is a key part of the Head Start program, into our curriculum that we work with the kids. And in addition, at the end, when they play music and Rochelle plays her violin, I've heard from the teachers that this is the first time for many of the students that a child has ever heard a violin played or even live music for the first time in their entire lives. So that opportunity is key, like I said, to creating a spark and interest for learning. And we also sneak in some literacy in that as well. So there's many, many benefits to this program. So for this program and this grant, there will be a total of 292 contact hours for the school year if funded in full, and each student in the WASU Head Start program will receive 5 books paired with the program that we're giving them. So they'll be able to take those books home, and we know in education that it's so important when kids go back home and they read those books with their parents and they sit down and have that bedtime story time. We know that for literacy and learning, that is absolutely key to their success. So we want to be able to encourage that and also tell their parents about what they learned in music that day. So like I said, that's the first initial part with our early childhood spark. And after that, leading into when a child comes out of that program, we would like to be able to offer 10 of our WASU resident students to come to the Conservatory and take private lessons. These private lessons will be 30-minute lessons in the instrument of their choice. And not only will they be able to take private lessons for the full year, we'll provide them with an instrument rental, because that is sometimes a barrier to be able to participate. So we want to remove that barrier. We'll provide books and music, and we'll provide a music stand so they can go home and practice. So for this section, for the 10 students, it would provide a total of 170 contact hours if funded for the whole year. And we know with our music and private instructions and classes that creating that mentorship relationship between a student and a faculty member one-on-one it's a key to success for many of these students. It provides that mentorship relationship. The kids find a lot of social emotional connections with their teachers. They're able to expand upon their communications. There's trust. And in their lessons, they find that they have to engage in critical thinking and problem solving. And they also have so much pride in their accomplishments. So with this Pathways to Music program, if funded in full for the full $15,000, it would provide a total of 462 contact hours for 118 children and students. And those are just direct impact. We know that the indirect impact, including all of the teachers at the Head Start program, including all of the parents and the potential siblings who will be in at that nighttime storytime program, is exponentially larger. So thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
Great. That sounds like a terrific program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions from the group?
Hi,
I just have a quick question here. This is Andy Shannon on
Hey.
the computer technological. Just curious, so are the teachers, are they volunteers or are they hired and provide the service and the learning opportunities for these kids? Just curious how that kind of
Yeah.
works and how teachers get involved.
Yeah, so great question. So we do have a couple teachers that are involved. The one primary teacher is Rochelle Pearson, who is our artist faculty at the Conservatory, and she is a paid employee at the Conservatory. The other people who are involved in the Marathon County Head Start program, their level is 100% volunteer. Rochelle is the only one who is compensated for any level of time, and very lowly compensated for the amount of planning that she has to do. And so like I said, the teachers that are involved, additionally, we have other faculty artists who come in, and sometimes they play at the end of the story time, depending on what the story is, and they are all doing it on a volunteer basis, including myself, and I play cello. I'll pop in every once in a while, depending on the book, and I'll play on my own time as well.
John, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this
Hey.
is John. I had a question about the first part of the proposal. So I'm just wondering if you guys have had any consideration for connecting with other mission-driven childcare centers for like a traveling a class or whatnot, or is it all done at the conservatory?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And to clarify, currently, right now, this program is delivered virtually because of the Marathon County Head Start parameters. So those are their parameters, and so we virtually log in once a month with them right now. I would love to expand this program. I will be honest, the first year that we've just finished was on the conservatory's budget that I put in, which was a new line item, which I'm sure you can all appreciate sometimes how difficult that is, and we did not have a funder for it. So the initial pilot program I felt to be so important that we needed to figure it out, and we did. So I would definitely have dreams of expanding this grant. Also, the way I have written it includes coming back into person and having Rochelle and other faculty members being able to stand in front of the children and actually gauge on a more deeper level to discuss even in more depth that social emotional learning component and be able to provide that live performance opportunity like I mentioned. So in long, short and long, the answer is yes. I just really want to make sure it gets kicked off the ground and that it's meaningful and important before we begin to expand and implement.
Any other questions?
I just have one more quick one, Olivia.
Yeah.
Just having trouble finding it in the packet here, but how much are you requesting?
The request is for $15,000, which would fully fund the programs for 1 year.
Groovy, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Karen. What's the opportunity for kids to get the musical instruments after the 1 year period? Is there swap meets? Are there opportunities? Because if you engage them 12 times and they've mastered some basics, how is that going to be sustained?
Yes, thank you for that question. So just to clarify, for the private lessons, for 1 year of lessons, those will be 36 lessons that they would receive. And then after that point, we actually have, depending on their school district, we work very, very closely with the school districts, Wausau School District, DC Everest. And this is a Wausau grant, so it would be our Wausau schools. And actually, both string teachers are on our faculty as well. And they all have instrument rentals and work actually very much above and beyond to make sure that any student who wants the ability to have an instrument can get that. We just, of course, for the first year, I want to make sure that they do have guaranteed ability to have access to that instrument before we go and shop it out with a partner. But I will say, I pride myself on saying that I have never turned down a student for tuition assistance or because of their inability to pay ever for a rental or a private lesson. So I would hope that the opportunity and the funding would continue in one way or another, but I commit myself always to never say no if a student wants it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Who would like to be next?
Hi there. My name is Dan Mills, and I work for Catholic Charities. I'm here requesting funds for our Beyond Shelter program. Those of you who are not familiar with this program, 5 years ago we started housing individuals, men, chronically homeless men, who had been homeless in our community for some time. Over the years, we've made a lot of changes. We started in 2016, added a second house in 2017, another in 2018, and in 2019 we opened up a program in La Crosse that is similar to this one as well. Obviously, last year we weren't able to make a lot of progress on expanding the program. Basically, it was just trying to keep everyone safe. Over the course of our 5 years that we've been doing this here in the Wausau area, one of the things that I didn't put on the application was we have served 25 homeless men over that time. So, and just to maybe tout a little bit, at this time, 3 of them are homeless. So we've managed to keep a lot of them homeless. They continue to work with myself and other members of our Catholic Charity staff and the other community resources that we have here to keep them stable in that housing. So that's one of the the benchmarks that we use is trying to keep our homeless population housed. And it's one of the biggest obstacles that we have. A lot of people have always said to me, well, if they don't want to be homeless, then they can just get a job and then they won't be homeless. Well, it's a little hard to get a job when the application asks you for an address, when you can't keep a cell phone charged to get the phone call. So having that housing right away, and we follow a housing first model, accepting individuals where they're at in their life and in that moment. We put them into housing and work with them very intensively to get them to a point where they can overcome all of the obstacles that got them into that situation in the first place. I'd like to give you a little example of my hands today are a little dirty from working on bicycles. One of the gentlemen that we just recently got in, who had been homeless for a year and has a lot of mental health issues, was referred to our Beyond Shelter program by his case manager at North Central Healthcare. I actually share 2 other clients with that case manager, none of which are still housed in our program. They're in their own apartments now. But he referred him to me, and we were able to get him into the program and get him housed. And one of the first things he wanted to do was get a bike so he could go and get out and about, because he's got a lot of mental health issues and he's got some physical ailments. Well, his bike broke down, and so now he's trapped in the house. So we're trying to get his bike fixed. So my hands are a little dirty today because of that. Earlier in the day, I met with him and our own financial planner or financial advocate through our St. Lawrence program at the house, because he's not comfortable going out to a lot of places and meeting strange people. And so she came to the house to meet with him to work out a budget, because he has Social Security and disability. He has a learning deficit that prevents him from understanding a lot of the things that would, a lot of us take for granted, how to balance a checkbook or how much you should pay for one thing or another. But already in the 2 months that he's been there, his case manager is amazed at the difference that it's made. Because he's stable and he's housed, he's able to work out a lot of the other things. So he's got his psychiatric appointments now that he goes to. I am able to take him to most of those, or his healthcare case manager. We coordinate really well in order to get him all of the things that he needs. One of the other individuals that I share with that case manager is no longer housed. Tomorrow I get to take him up to Merrill to see his daughter. He can't pay for social services to provide that supervision, and so I get him up there to that, and that is the one thing that keeps him sober and stable. That individual had a very lengthy history. Was in and out of Lincoln Hills, was in foster care. He spent most of his adult life in prison. And now, after 3 years in the Beyond Shelter house, he has now been in his own apartment, and he's doing quite well. So those are the kinds of things that we do at Beyond Shelter. It's all of the wraparound services. We work with all of the other community partners that we have to get them back on track and build the skills that they need within their own life. One of the other presenters was mentioning about children aging out of foster care, and in the second house, one of the gentlemen was exactly that. He had aged out of foster care, made it in his own apartment for about 3 months, lost that, and ended up homeless. So they come from all areas, they come from all backgrounds, but it's being able to tailor make a program that works for them. And so far we've had what I'd say is pretty good success. Does anyone have any questions?
Dan, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Are you full right now? Do you have some vacancies?
We have some vacancies.
Okay.
So I would love to fill those. We changed our admission process about a little over a year ago, to a referral program and in an invitation to apply. What we were doing prior to that was taking people directly off of the prioritization list that they weren't looking for housing. We went through some struggles. We had a few problems that we had to deal with in the houses, and worked through all of those. We made a lot of changes to our program, and one of the changes was obviously our admission program. But right now I've got 3 applicants that are in the process, different stages of that. And then I just got an email from one of the probation agents looking for a referral for one of their clients that is currently in one of the jail facilities.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Who's next? Don't everybody come up at once, but you got to come up.
Hello, I'm Deborah Ryan. I'm in District 11, City Alderperson. It happens I know the majority of these organizations because of my living here for over 20 years. I've known Amy for quite a while. I had been a volunteer for a senior that lived at Forest Park that was in her 90s and was losing her sight, and she ended up having an emergency going to the ER, and I had known her for like 3 years at the time. And now this is back in the 90s.
Excuse me, Deb, are you representing a group here today?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So it ended up at that time, Marie was not allowed to go back to her apartment. Now, I know the rules have changed, that you can go at home-assisted care so you can stay where you are. But at that time, she was losing her sight, and so by kind of forcing the move to either assisted living, and then she decided to go to another assisted living, it was very difficult for her for changing. Also, I had worked with Catholic Charities for 5 years back in the early 2000s, so I'm aware of those programs as such. And just last year, through the Community Development Block Grant, I believe $200,000 was given for the campus, so to buy it and charge cheap rent. So I don't understand why the rent is going up then, when already you have given to them as a group. And also checking my email, I have found nothing of Tammy informing myself or any members of the council about this application, and that I knew of a number of organizations that would have wanted to apply. And I guess I'm just kind of shocked that I was told recently in writing that there's 1,500 out there for energy assistance. But like for another organization that's a not-for-profit but a fraternal, they need $60,000 in order to replace the air conditioning. Well, if I had known they could have applied here, I would have encouraged them to. And then looking at the agenda, there's nothing here indicating the annual plan and the performance. It's nowhere in the packet. So we're talking about issues that were not included in the packet, and I think you're going to need to have another meeting and including that information, because basically you're not giving us so that we can make comments in that regard. I also have a neighbor that's in long-term care because of a recent stroke in middle of June. And in my past life in Kenosha County as a Girl Scout leader, it's amazing when young people enter a nursing home. People come out of their rooms all over. So I would encourage the Conservatory to look at making visits to those that are in nursing home. And so I hope you will allow the opportunity of these other organizations that I would have referred, but There's nowhere I'm finding in my email about how to do the process for applying. And if one organization here is looking for over $1 million for elevators, I would think another not-for-profit that's been here for a long time, serving the public and providing space at no charge, should also be considered when they need air conditioning of $60,000, and a $1,500 grant is not going to do that. Thank you.
Who's next? Anyone else? Are we done?
This public hearing, yes.
Okay. Then I will close this public hearing. I will say that 3 times. Everybody heard me say that 3 times? And the public hearing is closed. So then we'll open another public hearing. This one to receive comments on the reprogramming of 2020 economic development funds into the housing rehabilitation program. Tammy.
So in the packet, there was a memo that discussed what we're planning on doing here. Back in a couple of years ago, part of our planning process, we set aside $70,000 for McDevco to do economic development grants. And as you know, we have a timeliness factor, so we need to get the money out the door as soon as possible. They have not had, well, in the last 3 years now, we've had 1 loan for either a new business or expanding. They've been working endlessly with the COVID, small businesses with the COVID funds that they received. So we really need to take this money and put it into a program that is working. And that's where we decided we would like to reprogram it into our homeowner rehab program. We will not be asking for additional funds for homeowner rehab through the 2022 cycle, so you won't see that line item on our chart, because we would be utilizing these funds so that we can put it towards something that is working. Any questions? Anything that doesn't make sense?
I think it's great that you're able to reprogram it. It's a great program.
Sometimes we have to do that.
Yeah. Questions?
Tammy, this is Andy. I just got a quick question on here, and I'm sorry if I just interrupted somebody.
You did.
No problem.
Sorry, Bruce, if you want to go ahead, then I can wait for sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, can we just get a little bit more of kind of insight and background? So it was due to, I guess, pandemic strains of new and incoming economic development going on or whatnot. So I'm just curious, and I'm curious why. So we do have to move these funds to make them start working a little bit better, more efficiently. But can we just get a little bit more insight into the Economic Development Fund, the 2020 fund? And
I guess I'm not 100% sure about what the question is, but we've actually funded McDevco probably many years in a row at either $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 for small businesses or expanding businesses, and it's for job creation. So if you're starting up a new business, they could utilize the funds to help with purchasing a building or purchasing inventory. It can help remodel, and unfortunately, it can't help staff costs. But it can help with those things, with the other items, and then they have to report the job creation that they created for that new business or expanding business. I can't answer why new monies wasn't being utilized. They also operate with a revolving loan fund like our homeowner rehab does. So that means those monies also have to go for loans. When you have money coming from both directions and nobody requesting funds, it gets stagnant and we need to move the money. And then obviously COVID hit, so no small businesses were starting up. And we still haven't seen anything new. Their most recent loan was a business purchasing a building versus renting, which is great for them, but it wasn't a new business. So we're still trying to get new businesses going. They're offering a lot of programs as to how to do that. But at this point, there's nobody in the pipeline that could utilize these funds. Does that answer the question?
That was great. Yeah, thank you, Tammy.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Tom, you had a question?
Thank you. Yes. Could you sketch out kind of verbally what type of scenarios these funds will be used in then if they're reprogrammed? Just some example scenarios. And also, is there any kind of demonstrated need or desire right now where you have a feeling that these funds would be utilized if reprogrammed in this way?
Sure. Our Homeowner Rehab program assists income qualifying homeowners in the city of Wausau to do home repairs. We do roofing, siding, electrical, plumbing, heating, anything that that homeowner needs to make repairs on their home. And we say repairs, we call it renovation, but there's, you can't get air conditioning, you can't get a new deck, you can't get a whirlpool tub. It's got to make sense as to what you're doing. Our waiting list right now, I believe, has 10 people on it. Our bad part is we could move these people faster, but it's struggling to get contractors. So yes, it's not moving as fast as we could, but we do have the waiting list that these funds could help. Does that answer?
It does. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, then we need a motion to advance this.
Yes, please.
Who would like to offer up a motion? Pam. Who wants to second?
Annie.
Annie? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
And then this will be taken to our the city's finance committee and on to city council before we can utilize these funds.
Okay, we'll go on to item number 8.
Excuse me, I don't recall you saying it was a public hearing for number 5 at all.
Bruce did say that?
I did.
I didn't hear you say it.
You missed it.
Say it 3 times.
I
No,
didn't say
he has
to
to
open
close it. He
I
has to
closed
close it 3 times.
You say it 3 times to close it,
I
which
didn't
we
hear
are
you
just
say
about
it.
ready to close.
No, if you want to speak on it, go ahead.
All right. Well, a lot of my comments still deal with very similar comments to my first comments. That, again, you didn't notify any of the alders, in my opinion, from looking at my emails. So alders that could have notified other not-for-profits or business are not being included in this. Also, in other previous community development block grant funding, there has been requests for neighborhoods which had not been meeting because of COVID, but about getting benches or going and getting transit shelters or doing upgrades in certain neighborhoods. And especially with the pandemic, I guess I'm not aware of anything except for the Thomas Street when that road work was done. So you're leaving the neighborhoods out of it and requests that have been made in the past for additional lights. So again, I think you should be opening it up, and so that others that were not notified about this and had no way of knowing about it, especially this other not-for-profit that did ask for requests, but it was only directed to the $1,500 energy assistance when they would have done a proposal for $60,000 for air conditioning. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to say that 3 times. And we will move on to number 8, discussion and possible approval on a CARES request from Catholic Charities Warming Center. Tammy. It always goes back to you.
It always comes back to me. Tracy from the Warming Center is here too if you have any questions for her. But you remember with the CARES funds, we were able to utilize those funds in a couple of different areas. One of them was with North Central Community Action for the rental and mortgage assistance. And Diane did a great job in trying to get the money out the door. Problem is, and not a problem for her, but they received a lot of money from the state and federal that did not have the rules that the block grant funds have, so they were able to utilize those funds a lot easier than our block grant funds, and Diane said, I can't even use this money because we've got so much. Would you take it back? I hate hearing that, but obviously if they can't use it, yes, we will take it back. And it was kind of weird how it happened because all of a sudden, the mayor came down and said Catholic Charities reached out to him with COVID and the warming center. They are not comfortable going back to their old space, and they want to stay in their new space where they received CARES funding last year so that they have bigger space, but they don't have additional assistance. So they asked if we had any funds, and we do, because of North Central Community Action returning those funds. So we are looking to take those funds from one pot and put it into another approved pot to help with the rent at the new spot. It's not nearly as much as they need. They're out there pounding the pavement to try to get additional funds, but at least we can help them with I'm trying to remember, about the 13,000 I think we have left over. Any questions on that? And because we're moving it from one approved pot to another approved pot, and it's the same kind of funding, we don't have to do the public hearing, we don't have to do the other, like the economic development and homeowner rehab are two different separate line items. Both of these are nonprofits, so.
Do you need a motion for that, or can we just
We do need
okay?
We do need a motion and pass
Okay.
that.
Who would like to make a motion on that? Kylie makes the motion. Pam seconds, or Emily? Emily's on the board. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? No one opposed, so it passes. It's a good idea. Okay,
Thank you.
we'll move on to number 9, the discussion and approval of recommended guideline changes to the Housing Rehabilitation Loan Program. I assume that's what all this yellow highlight is.
That's what all the yellow highlight is, yes. For those that are new, and I apologize, we should have had introductions as one of the line items because we have a couple of new members here. So we will definitely have that for the next agenda, so we can do some introductions of our
We'll do
members.
that, we'll do that at the end of the meeting, when we're done with all the business, and we'll,
Okay.
how's that?
With our homeowner rehab, our guidelines are directed by this committee. If we have any changes, we need your approval on it to make sure that it makes sense. So there's a couple of things that we're looking at doing. Part of federal funds, if the house was built prior to 1978, the lead-based paint rule kicks in, which means that we either have to test or we have to assume it's lead. If we test, it usually costs about $300, and then the clearance afterwards costs about, could be $350, $400. So that homeowner, and then that loan, those dollar amounts would end up being on the loan, and that homeowner ends up borrowing an extra $700, $800 just for this testing. I feel like that's a burden on the homeowner, and I would like us to actually offer that as a grant, that we forgive that portion of it. So that's what that highlight is in here. The other thing is we are looking, I don't know if you've heard, but WASU is going to do everything in their power to get rid of the water lead lines, and they've got several programs going on. We would like to help them with that, meaning that if a homeowner that income qualifies is getting their lead lines replaced, a lot of times it makes a lot of sense to have their sewer line replaced at the exact same time. If you're going to dig it up once. And a lot of the sewer lines are faulty. And then sometimes these lines go through a porch or a driveway that now they have to repair that. The DNR has a grant of up to $5,000 that a homeowner can get to have these lines replaced, but that's just the water line. So we would like to say that we would like to help these homeowners and kind of bump them to the top of the waiting list, because if they're going through this project, they need the money now. They can't wait a year. So we would like to be able to request that would be one of the reasons to bump them to the top of the waiting list. Right now, it's for emergency situations of which a sewer line collapses, a furnace goes out in the middle of the year, a roof is leaking, Or if a child has been diagnosed with elevated blood lead levels, then we'll work with the health department and try to get those, that lead remediated. So those are the, oh, and then there's just a minor one where we have a new loan servicing system. It's called Portfolio, and that's where we changed the wording in here that we are, all the loans are going into, instead of land records, Portfolio.
I have one little issue on
Yes.
page 32. I'm going to do my best impression to be Pat Peckham.
Oh, yes.
And
What's the typo?
yeah, I think it should be run instead of ran. Reports can
Can
be
be ran.
run to check on delinquencies. I wish Pat was still here. He'd be proud of me.
We'll let them know. We can make that change.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I feel better. Okay, we need a motion to do this?
Yes.
Okay, who'd like to make a motion? Who's not on the board yet? La, you've been very quiet tonight.
Make a motion.
Okay, La makes the motion. Who'd like to second? Karen seconds. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we adjourn, should we do our meet and greet now? We
Sure.
introduce the, we have two new members that you guys that are on video, you know, can't see, but we have two new members if they would like to introduce themselves. And we'll, I don't know, can we, I don't know if it's efficient to go around the room and say, oh, I've met you already. So Emily was nice enough to buy my building 10 years ago. So, but I haven't seen her since, so it's great to see you again. Yeah. Just tell us who you are and what you do and why you're here. In 30 seconds or less.
Okay. Hello. I feel so official sitting here. My
It's a
name
great feeling, isn't it?
Well, it's a little terrifying, actually, but
It'll get better.
I'm Emily Voss. I own Voss Studios, a photography studio just on 3rd Street. And I'm happy to be here, but I think it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, so be nice to me, please.
Well, Tammy and Shannon will help you out with the whole thing. And if you have any questions, just give anybody a call and we can do it. You'll fall into place real fast. Yeah. And Karen?
Karen Powers, I've been in Wausau about 30 years. We live on the west side near Greeby's in older neighborhood that's gone through all kinds of changes. We call it a transition neighborhood. We're not sure where it's transitioning yet, but we've been there 25 years. And I just retired from the Parks Department in March of this year. And taking a position on the Community Block Grant is a legacy issue for me. My mother served on the lacrosse Community Block Grant Committee for 30 years.
Well, that's terrific. We've never had a legacy before.
That's my gift to her.
Great.
How about everybody introduce themselves too, so that Karen and Emily can see a name and a face, please. Annie, why don't we start over there?
Hi, my name is Annie Williams. I have been in Wausau for 11 years. I was I was very blessed to be helped by the committee, the development. They took care of our home. I was very sick with cancer twice, and my husband was very sick with his asthma, and our house was falling apart. So that's the way I met Tammy, and she has been just wonderful. I am a Spanish interpreter and volunteer for the Hispanic community, and whoever needs help, I'm there to help in any way. I'm a very proud member of this beautiful city, and I want to give the best of me as long as God allowed me to be here.
Hi, my name is John Kroll. I've been a Wausau resident now for a little over 2 years, a resident of the southeast side, and I am self-employed in the residential energy efficiency business. So thank you.
Good evening, Tom Killian, older person, District 3.
I know him.
Pam Jackson. I'm the Executive Director at the BA and Esther Greeneck Foundation and lifelong Wausau resident.
Hi, my name is Kylie Berg. I am a 15-plus year resident, so.
Now let's go on to
I wanna
the
say,
video.
Kylie, can you say how you found us? Because I love the story. Because how did you find us? Did you do something with the chamber, like the leadership program, and they talked about how you can serve in the community and.
Sorry, it's been a minute. Yeah, so I did a lot of leadership programs through the chamber and did a lot of networking. And then I also took a government class. I think that's what we were talking about. So that was through the chamber as well. And then just to be, if you can sit and talk about how things are happening or complain about not happening, the best way to fix that is to actually get involved. So that's kind of my inspiration.
Okay, now on to the video C. You've been very quiet tonight. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi.
Speak loud. We don't have good audio here.
Oh, can you hear me?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. My camera isn't working. I'm on my laptop and I have no idea how to work this thing. Very sorry. I've been a resident here in Wausau for 15 years, and I've been active in the Hmong community for this upcoming April will be a 10-year, so it'll be a decade. I can't wait to say that. But yeah, nice to meet everyone, and I look forward to being there in person.
Well, we look to having you back here. Andrew, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am Andrew Dudley Shannon. Everybody calls me Andy, but I work at the Dudley Foundation here in Wausau. Yeah, I'm not as a long-term resident as some of our other members have claimed and whatnot, but I've been here for about roughly 3 years and got involved pretty early on with this group, and yeah, so work with a lot of nonprofits, and it's fun to be a part of this group. So.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. La, may I say, La, that you look just like your picture in the paper.
Thanks. I'm La Tao, and I'm a teacher over at East Everest District, and I've been in Wausau for a pretty long time as well, and excited to see you guys in a couple of weeks when we start deliberating over this material, but it's a great process for the community, and it does some awesome stuff, so thanks again, everybody.
Okay, thanks. Anything else?
Only a reminder that a week from Wednesday is our next public hearing. So I know we'll probably have just as many people in attendance as we did tonight. And I apologize again for our paper issue. We will do better.
We'll get beyond that. Someone make a motion to adjourn.
I just want to say one thing. I find out about the committee by City Pages, a very small an advertisement, and a couple that was help in that time. So as you can hear, I have a very strong accent. I'm not from here. Originally, I'm from Costa Rica, and I was new around in Wausau. I'm not too good over the phone, and those years now I don't care how I talk. I try to do it better, but these doors are always open, and people here are very approachable and very nice. If we need to find help, and you don't want to make a phone call or send an email, just come here and talk to them. Talk to anybody. They will greet you with open arms, and that's what they did to me and my husband. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, how would you like to make a motion to adjourn? Okay. How about a second? All in favor? Thank you for everybody for showing up. We'll see you next week.